Hi, welcome to Gridiron this week. I'm Emily Tropp along with Matt Trowbridge, and we are in our final Gridiron show. It's hard to believe, but we're going to do things a little bit differently this week and do all of our staff predictions and kind of look ahead to the playoffs all in one show. And on Saturday night, we had 21 teams from our local conferences reach the postseason, including 6 from the Nick 10.
Yeah, that tied the record they set last year. And it's really not been a very impressive year so far for the Nick 10, but it's hard to tell. All they're doing is playing each other. So I think what they do in the playoffs is going to be how the Nick 10 has been remembered.
Right, and then we have 4 of them are in 7A, and then we have North in 6A and Belvedere in 5A. So who do you think has the best chance of going the furthest in their bracket?
Well, you know, it's tough, and it's very interesting with the 2 Belvedere schools being down 1 class and 2 classes. I think that's going to make them, you know, really one of the 2 more interesting teams in the Nick 10 in the playoffs this year. Belvedere is a Class 5A team, and they're only about 80 or 90 students away from being a Class 4A team. And if the Bucks were in 4A, I'd have picked them to make a long run because they've really been a rejuvenated team with this freshman quarterback. They've been really slinging the ball around. But they've got a tough first-round matchup against Woodstock Marion, which has got a grand playoff history. I think they're 17-3 in the first round. So that's going to be really tough for them. Now, North, on the other hand, they're up a class in 6A, but they've got the most favorable playoff bracketing of any team we've had. 9 of the 10 ranked teams in the state are in the upper bracket. North is in the lower bracket. They won't have to play a team ranked higher than 9th in the state until all the way to the semifinals. And just like Belvedere, they've been a better team the second half of the year since they switched quarterbacks. So I think North can make a pretty darn good run. Now, the other 4 teams are in 7A, and none of them have an easy road at all. But I think both Boylan and Harlem are good enough to win a couple games, but they're all going to be tough. If you go online, there's something called the Massey ratings that uses these computer rankings, and they pick only 1 Nick 10 team to win in the first round, and that's Boylan by a single point. Now, see, I would pick Harlem and Boylan to win in the first round, and I think Hononegah is very close to a toss-up. But it's all going to be very tough, close games. So as far as the area games go, what looks good out there, Emily?
Well, the 2 brackets that I've been the most excited about all year, 1A with Dakota and 3A with Stillman Valley. And when the pairings were announced on Saturday, I was pretty pleased with one of them, but the other one's going to be a little bit tougher. Now, starting with the one that was kind of disappointing is Class 1A, and that's because the state organized it so that all of the NUIC teams that reach the playoffs are going to be eliminating each other in the first couple rounds. You have Galena, Acquin, East Dubuque Polo, Dakota, and Lewin could meet as soon as week 2. So that's a bit of a disappointment because we all know that a lot of those teams could easily reach to the state quarterfinals if they were, you know, bracketed differently. I still think Dakota has the best chance. I think that they'll make it to state, and then they can run into this Brown County team that has only given up 9 points the whole season. So that's kind of my prediction for the Class 1A bracket. In 3A, I was pleased to see that Wilmington and Carthage were pretty far away from Stillman Valley. And those are, you know, there's a lot of very, very good teams in 3A, but those are probably the 2 heavily favored teams in the state other than Stillman Valley. And if it all works out, those 2, one of them will be eliminating each other, and they would meet Stillman Valley in the semifinals. So it's a pretty good road for Stillman Valley. They have to get through a couple of tough teams. Aurora Christian is one of them. But I think it looks like a pretty good road for the Cardinals.
Yeah, I know. I was particularly disappointed in 1A to see Lewin and Dakota maybe meeting in the second round. I thought the Panthers maybe could have been a semifinal team in the state.
Well, and so could East Dubuque. I mean, Acquin, look at the season they're having. The one team that kind of got out of it was EPC. They're in 2A, and they could make a pretty good run there. So.
Yeah, Acquin loses 1 game all year, and then that's the team they have to play in the very first round.
Yeah, it's crazy, but you can't make everybody happy, and the old cliche is, well, you have to beat everybody anyway. So it's exciting. It's been a fun year. I'm ready for the playoffs. I've been ready for a couple weeks here. I don't know how you feel about how the whole season went with the Nick 10.
Yeah, like I said, to me, the Nick 10, it kind of starts now. I mean, I really liked what Belvedere and Belvedere North did the second half of the year. Well, we'll see if it carries on. Hononegah, I've always thought they're going to be a little bit better than they've been. Well, last year they made a big leap in the first round. Maybe they can do it now. And I'm really interested to see what other people in our staff, what they're most interested in looking into the playoffs.
I'm Jay Taft, and I'm going to start off with talking about Rochelle's road to the playoffs, which wasn't pretty. When I picked them to win, they would get hammered, and vice versa. They now sneaked in with a 5-4 record, and I'm going to pick them to get beat in the first round, which should make all the folks at Rochelle happy. Team to watch, you got to watch Stillman Valley. Everybody's expecting them to go all the way. I don't think it's going to happen. Dakota's our local area state champ in my mind, and they will go the farthest. As far as a sleeper goes, Belvedere North, they won't win the conference title as I predicted early on, but they will be a team to be reckoned with in the playoffs. I like them to win 2 or 3 games and to surprise some teams.
Hi, I'm Doug Goodman, and looking at the playoffs, among our 7A teams in the Nick 10, I see Boylan going the furthest. They're probably going to get 1, maybe 2 victories. Among the other schools, 5A Belvedere, which also played in the Nick 10 against larger schools, is going to be playing against smaller schools now. However, in the first round, they're going to play Woodstock Marion, which was in the same boat and has been playing larger schools all year long. Among our smaller schools in the area, 3A Stillman Valley will probably go the furthest. They're 9-0 in the season, and they've got a relatively easy game in the first round against Christian Life.
Hi, this is Brenda Young, and for those of you who have been keeping up with my weekly picks, I've been told I'm doing pretty good. So hopefully during this playoff time, as I get ready to pick out predictions for the year, that I'll also do very well. First off, I want to talk about Guilford. Obviously, they got back to the playoffs for a 6th straight year, but I really do see that their playoff dreams ending against Glenbard West. This particular team is ranked number 2 in the state in 7A, and last year they reached the semifinals, which I believe they also are posed for another good run. So we'll watch out for them against Guilford on this week. Also, Lena Winslow has been a team that I have been picking a lot this year, and rightfully so. They're on an 8-game winning streak, and they are going against Auburn Hebron this week, and I don't believe that streak will be ending anytime soon. So I kind of foresee the Panthers getting to the quarterfinals, along with Harlem and Eastland Pearl City.
I'm Randy Roof, and first of all, I'm going to start with Harlem, who last year went 8-1, but lost in the very first round of the playoffs. Well, this year they're in the same boat, going 8-1 after the regular season, but they're not going to lose in the first round. Last year they came off an emotionally draining loss to Boyle in that last game of the regular season. This year, the draining loss came back in week 1, and Harlem's had plenty of time to recover from that and have played some good football since. But while they will make it a second round, I think they, like the rest of Nick 10, is only going to make it 2 rounds, with a possible exception of Belvedere, who may go a little farther since they're down in 5A. But look for the Nick 10 to not have a strong showing this year in the postseason.